Evening and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. My name is Ralph Williams. For those of you who are first-time listeners, you look on the ticket take. All shows are live on YouTube and Facebook. I have to change that because we're also live on Twitch as of last week. So tonight we're on all three platforms. My guest, as you can see here on the screen, is Danielle Orsino. And Danielle is a reporter for the New York Giants. And we're going to talk a little bit about Giants tonight. And maybe we're going to talk a little bit about she's met the wrestlers The Rock and Triple H a little bit maybe. And also we're going to talk about the rest of what happened in the NFC and the NFL. It was a crazy week on Sunday. I got to tell you, for opening week, 1-point games, 5-point games, all kinds of games. I don't know what happened here, but it seems like, oh, there's Danielle again. I don't know what happened. But anyway, so let's get started. Danielle, thank you for being on the program tonight. And tell the watching and listening audience what you do.
I'm actually a fantasy novelist who used to do podcasts for the New York Giants. I still follow the Giants religiously. I bleed blue. So I am here to talk to you tonight about the Giants and that incredible win against the Titans. Yay, go bleed blue. So I figured we'd come on and, talk a little NFC.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, you know what? It's great to have you on. And I like to have people from different cities on. I've had Steve Bellisari on from talk about New England, Scott Morganroth down in South Florida, Peter Blake down in South Florida, Leo Haggerty. I've had a bunch of guys on talking about different teams. Some of the teams the Steelers are playing, some that they're not, but still I have them on, and it's great. I am broadcasting tonight live from Sugar Creek, Ohio, and Sugar Creek, Ohio is Amish country. My wife and my mom and I are here for a little trip, so that's why I'm not in Studio 808 back in Pittsburgh. All right, Danielle. What's your thoughts on yesterday's game and Brian DeBoe's coaching debut, his first game? What do you think?
Considering that the Giants have not been 1-0 since 2016, I have to say I'm completely elated. But, let's not, get confidence and delusion confused with each other. It's one
Right.
win. But I'm going to ride that pony all the way down. Don't get me wrong. Madison Avenue, I'm right there. I'm absolutely thrilled. I like the aggressive play calling. When he said we're going for two, I was screaming at the television. I was throwing things and I was like, what are you doing? We're going for two. I'm like, take field goal, take field goal, take field goal. And then we got the 2 points and I was like, well, of course. So, yeah, I was fair weather in that sense, but I loved it. I was happy to see vintage Saquon back. How could you not be? It was great to see it. I look at Daniel Jones and I say, okay, we're adequate. I'll take adequate right now. I'm not going to get too excited, but I thought the defense played well. I'm happy to see that we kept King Henry to 77 yards. I mean, to keep Derrick Henry under 100 yards with a defense that last year,
Oh yeah,
Swiss cheese, holes through everything. So to keep him at 77 yards, regardless of coming off an injury, blah, 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 I'm still thrilled with that. And I thought the pass rushing, stepped up in the second half. The first half, we were just getting our feet under us. But I was very happy with it. So overall, it's a good start to seeing Brian Daboll and his coaching style. I really had no problem with him getting in Daniel Jones's face after the interception. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it's already a toxic relationship. I'm like, toxic? It's the NFL.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes Daniel Jones and quarterbacks like that, they need a kick in the butt, Danielle, because sometimes they just don't, perform properly. And it's time for back in the day when Chuck Noll was the coach of the Steelers, he was in Bradshaw's face all the time. And I mean, because Terry would screw up. And I've seen Bill Cowher get in some people's faces. And Rod Woodson says to this day that Bill Cowher gave him the shower. They called it the Cowher shower. So, I mean, if Brian DeBoe got on Daniel Jones, I have no issues with that because we need more coaches to do that.
I have no problem with it. I think Daniel Jones, because he's been through so many coaches and people were like, oh, just give him time, give him time. I'm like, there's no time. No.
Right.
You're
Time
coming
is
out
up.
of Eli Manning's shadow. you have no time. I mean, let's not
Right.
get into Gettleman and the Gettleman error. And when I say error, I mean ERROR, not ERA. So let's be very clear that we can all agree, if you're a Giants fan, Jones was not our first pick. Like, we all, when they announced Daniel Jones at the draft, I know I was the person standing up going, who? What? Who the hell is what? Huh? Who is this kid? I did not see the legacy of Daniel Jones as our quarterback. So I'm just sitting back right now looking at him going, can you just get us through this season? And can we just have, I'll be happy if we get to 500. I'll be like, okay, cool. Good job. Like, I'm not expecting a playoff. Let's, like I said, confidence delusion. I'm very clear on what it is, but I just want to see where we go and where we develop. I think we're at, Schoen's at a bunch of games, a bunch of college games already looking. He's already scouting. So I think they're doing all the right things. I'm just not looking at it like, oh, here's our legacy. We're still looking for our legacy when it comes to the quarterback position. I think if Jones does not perform, we're going to see Tyrod Taylor probably within 4 games.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tyrod Taylor's a good quarterback. I watched him in Buffalo, and Brian DeBoe
Yes.
should know about him. He was in Buffalo with Brian. So,
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor is a is a good backup quarterback, and I've seen him in action. He was a starter for a whole year, with Buffalo, and what else with the Giants team is how's their offensive line, defense, and all that, and special teams? How's that looking this year?
Well, our kickers, I'm a little worried about the kicking unit right now, especially with the missed field goal, the high snap. But I think that will we have the concussion. We've got things going on that I think can be fixed. There's nothing there that's glaring where I'm like, oh, this can't get fixed. It can be.
Right.
With Thibodeau, the knee, the MCL sprain, that will all come together. That I'm not looking at and saying, ooh, can we do it? I was a little concerned in the beginning. I mean, Jones got sacked 4 times in the first half.
Right.
So I'm looking at the edge, but I'm like, okay, that's still going to get fixed. Thibodeau comes back. Okay, we have it. Jones, I'm looking more at him and his mechanics. He tends to look like that interception, he looked right at Saquon and was like, I'm going to throw the ball to you. He holds it too long. Those are certain things that from the O-line perspective, they can only protect so long before we're going to get a holding call, before, certain things are going to happen. So I think from that standpoint, it can still get fixed. At first, I looked at it and went, oh God, we're back to square one. It's the same as last year. But then I was looking at the mechanics and I'm like, no, because we did gel in the second half. So right there was a line of improvement. As for the defense, we were already seeing improvement. I mean, we blocked the box, we crowded the box on Derrick Henry. So right there, I'm looking at it as these were the Titans. This was the AFC almost the number 1 seed until, they had their injuries. But they built an entire offense around Derrick Henry. And they still rushed Tannehill. And they kept him on his toes. So from that perspective, the defense did its job. And I'm happy with that. And they kept it at a 4-3, even when they were blitzing, and they should have moved to a 3-4. So I'm okay with a lot of what they did and what Wink Martindale's defense looked like that limited certain options. I still felt it looked good. So I think there's some positive takeaways. I mean, okay, we've got the Panthers this week.
Well, we'll see what they do against Carolina with Baker Mayfield. And I tell you what, Carolina's coach, Matt Rule, he's on eggshells. I mean, he definitely has to start winning this year. And now that Scott Frost was fired at Nebraska, I'm hearing inklings now that at the end of the season, Matt Rule could be the man at Nebraska. And he was one of the candidates for the USC job. So we're going to find out what Carolina's made of this year. Matt Rule, he's been there 4 years. He hasn't done anything. And they're lucky to have won 5 games. And they have a lot of talent down there as well. Sometimes you can coach in college and sometimes you can coach in the NFL. And you get some of these college coaches that think that they can come to the NFL and do the same thing they do in college, and it just doesn't work that way. Okay, Matt Rule's one of them. So I mean, and now he wants to flip back to college because what the gig he's got in Carolina is not working. And so we're going to find out what Carolina's made of. The Steelers play Carolina this year as well, and we're going to
Mhm.
find out what they're made of this year because, like I said, Matt Rule's walking on eggshells. The other NFC teams in your division, what's your thoughts on them? Do you think they're strong? Do you think you guys have a chance? I know Dallas just lost Dak Prescott, and so Dallas, the whole game changes for them down there. Matt McCarthy or Mike McCarthy's on eggshells down there with Jerry Jones. So what's
Yeah.
your thoughts about the rest of the division?
If I take the Cowboys first, let me look at them first. I
Okay,
think Jimmy Garoppolo's phone should be ringing right about now, if not yesterday. And I think he's looking at
right,
that restructuring of his contract, going, "Ooh." Uh, I, from what I've heard and what the rumors are, is that the 49ers would entertain the Cowboys, and they're looking at a second round draft pick. They would consider for Garoppolo. Looking at the quarterbacks available and who could, move there, I think Teddy Bridgewater would actually do better in Dallas versus Garoppolo,
right. Mm-hmm.
just from what's around him, the weapons
I'll
around
tell you
him.
what, Teddy Bridgewater, if he stays healthy, Danielle, he's a good quarterback. I
I
mean,
think
I've
he's
seen him
underrated.
in his legs. He can run. I mean, I've seen Teddy Bridgewater take off. I mean, he's a good quarterback when he's healthy. He has to
When he's
stay
healthy.
healthy. That's his major problem.
That's a key. I think Bridgewater's a better option personally. Like looking at things, I think Bridgewater would be a better option than Garoppolo because to me, I don't know, looking at the O line in Dallas, if the O line, given Garoppolo's immobility, is really fit for Dallas. But he's the name Garoppolo. So they're going to look there. I don't think
Right,
Cam Newton's an option. I've heard that name floated around, and I'm like, once again, it doesn't fit Dallas's scheme, so I
right.
don't think that's a match. I think Dallas. When I watched the game, I kept thinking, when did Dak forget how to play? That was my thought. Was like, what have you been doing? Too many sleep number commercials, Dak? What's going on here? What happened? I don't know. They were messy, so I'm not quite sure. I think Dallas is a little overrated. I know every Dallas fan right now is throwing something, but let's face it, you're a little overrated, and it's coming from a Giants fan. But I just wasn't. I think they're missing Amari Cooper right now. There's a lot going on, so that's an issue. As for the Eagles, yes, I know Eagles. You're number 10 on the power ranking, and you're jumping up and down and fly Eagles fly and blah blah blah. It was Detroit that you won against. Let's put
Yeah,
this in perspective,
yeah,
people.
exactly. Exactly.
It
And by
was
1 point
Detroit.
or a
You
couple
let them
points.
come back.
Yeah,
You didn't blow
yeah.
them out. You let them
No,
come back, and you won more on rushing than you did passing. So once again, confidence, delusion, boys. Learn it, live it, love
right,
it. Take it down a notch. Do I think you're dangerous? I think out of the NFC East, the Eagles are the one to beat. I know Giants fans, once again, take it down. I know you're throwing things at me right now. The Eagles are probably our contender, and they could take it. The Commanders, it's Washington. It's kind of like
they have
they're the
Carson Wentz
little,
here now. So, you know,
and
well,
he's
Carson Wentz
inconsistent.
hasn't done well anywhere he's been other than when he was with the Eagles. And then, even there, he wasn't, I was surprised he didn't work out in Indianapolis with Frank Reich as their coach, and stuff like that. So, I mean, but we'll see what he does with the Commanders. Ron Rivera, he's kind of come up short the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. They're not getting Chase Young back when they thought. I'm not sure. The Commanders, I look at them, and just when you think something might happen, they always bottom out. So I'm staring at the Commanders, going, okay, we'll see what happens, guys. I think the Eagles are the one to beat in the NFC East. Jalen Hurts, yeah, it's your rushing. It's your rushing game. That's what's going to win it. I don't think you're going to win it on his arm. Uh, so I look the Packers. Why the Packers on the power rankings are ahead of the Ravens? Somebody's got to explain that to me because I don't
Well,
get it.
Nathaniel Hackett was the only new coach, Danielle, that lost his game in the first. And, All the other
Well,
new coaches, Brian DeBow included, all won their games except for
let's
him.
discuss that Broncos
Yeah,
Seahawks
yeah, and
thing that
he
happened.
lost his game, and then so I was surprised Green Bay lost to Minnesota with their new coach. So I mean, it's been a wacky week. I mean,
Green Bay should be calling up Odell Beckham right now and going, so how's that wide receiver thing working out?
yeah,
Because
because
they are
Devontae Adams went to Las Vegas. So I
and
mean,
did phenomenally.
yes, yes,
So they need a wide receiver, and right now they should be looking at Odell because I think Odell is shopping for homes in Buffalo. He's not going to the Rams. He would, after watching that Rams Buffalo game, if I was Odell and he was at that game, I would be
mhm,
looking at Josh Allen going, so can we have dinner? What can we do here, buddy? Because he's going to win a ring, another one with Josh Allen
Josh
versus
Allen,
Stafford. I mean,
right?
if I'm looking at the two quarterbacks, I'm like, who am I going to? I'm going with Vaughn. I'm going with Von Miller. I'm listening to him when he said, come with me to Buffalo. I'm jumping on that one. But
Yeah,
the
Josh
Packers are
Allen.
in
I'll tell you what,
desperate need.
Buffalo's for real against the Rams. Oh, they tore into the Rams, and you know what? Everybody, all of our other media colleagues, all said, "Watch out for Buffalo," and nobody believed anybody. And I said, you know what,
I
Sean
said the same
McDermott,
thing.
he's an angry man because didn't make the or made the playoffs and had to bow out. So I mean, and then he lost some games during the regular season that he probably should have won. And so Sean McDermott's not a happy camper, and he wants to try to get Buffalo back up where they need to
Agreed.
be. And I think
I
this year
think
they're going to do
Buffalo's
it.
the way to go.
Yeah,
I think if
yeah,
they stay healthy, and that's the key, if they stay healthy
mhm,
and Josh Allen does not try to force anything, that's also it. He's got the arm. He's got it. He's actually started to finesse his strategy. If he stays healthy and Buffalo as a whole gels, which it looks like there's clicking and clacking, they just can't get hot too quick. The time to
right,
get hot, the time to get hot is that end of November, December. You get hot then because the Giants did
mhm,
it the second go around when they beat the Patriots in that
right,
run. They got hot in December, and all of a sudden it was like you were looking at them going, the Giants are going to do it again. It's that timing. If they do it, Buffalo takes this whole thing, and I think they're the ones to watch. The only wild card in this, and I say this with respect, is Mahomes and his mechanics because Mahomes makes no sense. I was watching him play, and the way that man throws a ball, just from and not to get nerdy, a kinesiology standpoint, that
right.
his throws should not work. I mean, at one point he threw the ball right, like he's skipping a stone. His body was going left. He's throwing right, and I'm looking at it going, that ball should not be even catchable. Like, what does he do? I don't know. He's a freak of
Well,
nature.
Kansas City, Danielle shouldn't have traded Tyreek Hill. That's the first thing.
No,
They brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, and Juju Smith-Schuster's injury prone, and he's too busy worrying about Facebook and social
yeah,
media, rather than
mm-hmm.
stepping up his game.
Yes,
That was one of the things the Steelers didn't like about him, and
mm-hmm.
he didn't want to stop doing it, and so here we are, and now they have him there, and I don't think he's anywhere near Tyreek Hill. And then when
No,
they traded him, I was like, what are you doing here? Now Mahomes needs to go, in another direction with that. And Kansas City never has a running game anymore because Andy Reid always runs that West Coast offense. And
yep,
and Eric Bieniemy there, again, I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, he's tried for every head coaching job in America,
and he can't.
so and can't get hired. I keep hearing stories he's a bad interviewer. I don't know, not some of the greatest interviews don't need to be the best job. You could be the bad interview and still be a good coach. I just don't understand what's going on with him. I don't know if he's, like Byron Leftwich, when he
Mm-hmm.
interviewed with Jacksonville, he told him he couldn't get along with that general manager there and said he wanted out or, wasn't going to take the job. And now he's, still the offensive coordinator down there in Tampa, with Tom Brady in the bunch down there. I call him the Brady bunch, so
Yep.
uh, and Todd Bowles, who didn't do well with the Jets, but that was because he didn't
No.
have the talent. And you still got Bruce Arians there as a consultant. I think he's handing out water and cleaning toilets or something. He's doing something down there.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's doing. I mean,
No,
I think
I'm
no,
just
I get
joking
it.
around. I like to joke around like that. He's down there cleaning toilets or something. You know what I mean? So, but
Yeah, I don't blame. At this point, I think with the Chiefs, you can never count them out. I think Buffalo, my money would go on Buffalo at this to go, to go at least to get in deep in the playoffs because I just think they're angry. They've got something to prove. The talent is all there. What Casey did to Tyreek Hill, though, no, I think
yeah,
they
that was
needed
wrong.
him
They
and
should have never traded him.
never. But I think Tyreek Hill's got something to prove. His numbers were great. Miami, I don't know if they can do what they need to do with Tua.
See,
Not that Tua isn't good, but
Miami's a toss up because they have a
yeah,
new coach. Their owner, it's Stephen Ross. He's in some hot water right now. He was
hmm
involved in some kind of a he broke some rules or did something, and he's involved
yep.
in some kind of a problem. So I don't know where Miami's going to go with this new coach down there. I know he's young. He's and he just beat Belichick, so we'll see what happens. I mean, but New England lost their quarterback, Mac Jones. And now they've got everybody on the team, including the janitor, calling plays. I mean, there's no offensive coordinator there, because Josh McDaniel left, and I think Bill Belichick didn't want to hire anybody, so he just kept Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, taking turns or flipping a coin or whatever they're doing there. And that's
Oh,
going to
you can always
backfire
go
on him.
home.
You know,
That's
I'm
the whole thing
sorry.
with Belichick. Belichick always lets you come home. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
he keeps it all. The emperor always wants his Siths to return to the dark side of the
right.
Force. That's what he does. I don't know what New England's going to do. The thing is with New England, you can never count them out because it is the emperor, and he's always looking
Hmm.
for his next Vader. So I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do. Mac Jones, as we said, it's a spasm. Mac Jones looked good last season. He surprised all of us.
Right.
I did not expect him to be as good as he was. I didn't expect the arm. So we have to see. The thing with Belichick that he does that I think the rest are finally queuing in on. Belichick builds the offense and the weapons around his quarterback once he finds somebody he likes. That's what he does. The
Absolutely.
problem the Giants didn't do was when they got Jones, they built the offense around Saquon. They did not build the offense around Jones. And that's part of our problem. Belichick has always done that. He's always taken the quarterback he has, built everything around that quarterback, including their coverage, their protection. That's what he does. Everybody always tries to pick pieces, and they pick one good piece, whether it's the running back or whatever it is, and then they kind of make the quarterback mold around it, and you don't get great things.
Right.
So with
What
Belichick, I
happened?
look at him and wait to see.
Hey, let me ask you a question here,
Mm-hmm.
Danielle. A real serious question. What happened with Tom Coughlin at New York with the Giants? Did he just fall out of favor? Because after he was gone, the Giants really haven't been relevant since then. I mean, because Tom Coughlin was the one that had him in the playoffs, the Super Bowl, things
He
like
was the
that.
glue. He was the glue. I don't think he fell out of favor. I think
Hmm.
what it was is, in the beginning, Coughlin was not well liked when he first got there.
Right, right.
Even Strahan has said from day one, he was very strict. He came in and he changed the culture. I think toward the end, some of the talent wasn't there.
Hmm.
And Coughlin wanted to go before he wanted to leave the party before they kicked him out.
Right,
It was kind of a
right.
mutual parting, but I don't think he necessarily fell out of favor. So I
I
think,
see.
there was Strahan was on his way
Right,
out. A lot of
right.
that culture that he had developed was on its way out. And I don't think Coughlin had it in him to start over again and get some of these younger players and indoctrinate them into the Giants way. I think he was tired. He had done what he could. And I think he also knew, it was just time to go. And it was time to let someone else take it over. Um, I wish he had more of a say on who that next person was going to
Right.
be.
Hmm.
I don't yeah, I don't think he gave as much as, the media played it up like, yeah, McAdoo, Shermer, like they were all Coughlin approved or whatever. No, I don't think they were. I think Coughlin, if he could have gone in and handpicked, I think his successor, if Cower had not been in the booth, he would have picked a Cower like guy to come in
Right.
and take
Right.
over. I think he wanted somebody more old school. Ben McAdoo was to me, a huge failure just based on what he did to Eli. I mean, I get the Geno Smith one the other night, and outplayed Russell Wilson. I still don't get the whole, oh, Geno Smith's great. I just don't. I mean, anybody who gets
No,
his
Geno
jaw
Smith's
broken
not great.
in
He's
his
a good backup quarterback. That's all he is. I
anybody
mean,
who gets
he's
his
not
jaw
anything more
broken
than
by
that.
one of his guys in the locker room,
Right.
I don't trust you to lead. I'm sorry, I don't. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think you're a good backup. I think as for what happened with the Broncos and the Seahawks, besides the time management problem and that 64-yard attempt and everything that went wrong there, I think Wilson was a little too keyed up. Same thing that happened in Carolina with Baker Mayfield. I think anytime a quarterback goes back to a team that got rid of them, there's going to be emotion. I don't care how much people are like, these guys are professionals. They don't let that get to you. I'm going to tell you and I'm just a semi-pro athlete retired. There's emotion. I don't care. I don't care how many sports
Right.
psychologists we go to that tell us to put it in the back of our head and all that BS. There's emotion. You could see it when Baker was playing. It was very clear. He was way too keyed up. And I'm sure it was there with Russell Wilson. And I think that affected their game. So that's a big part of it. But Geno Smith, I just don't get. And I think what Ben McAdoo did to Eli to stop his Iron Man streak, I just lose respect for you as a coach. And I don't think he was
Right.
right for Giants culture.
We have here with the Steelers, our quarterbacks coach is Mike Sullivan. What do you know about Mike Sullivan when he was with the Giants?
He's one of those, he's kind of forgettable, if that makes a lot of sense. Like there's nothing that stands out. He wasn't somebody that he wasn't, let me put it like this, a
A lot of
giant.
people talk good things about him. They say because he was Eli's coach for the longest time, and he stayed with the organization, and so
Yeah,
they say he's a good
it's
coach.
just, yeah. I mean, look, Trubisky looked great. Let's put it like this. That was the
Right.
best I've seen Trubisky look. If that Mitch had shown up with Chicago wouldn't have gotten rid of him.
Right. Well, I think
So
being with Brian DeBoe last year in Buffalo helped him too. And then he was a backup. He sat out, and I think he learned some stuff from Brian DeBoe as well. And I think that's what's going to make Trubisky a better quarterback. I think he learned when he was with. Well, he didn't learn much when he was with Chicago, and
no.
so those things. But anyway, Danielle, thank you for being on the program tonight. I'm going to have you come back on again another time. We'll talk some more football, probably somewhere in the middle of the season or something like that. Appreciate you being on tonight, and thank you. And tell the listeners in the audience here what you do and and your reporting and all.
Oh, shameless self-promotion. I love it. You can always find me at my book website, birthofthefae.com. You can find me at fourhorsemanpublications.com. And then there'll be some announcements on my Instagram at birthofthefae_novel about some sports podcasts coming up that I will be hosting very soon. So I'm really, really excited. And then
Oh,
another
great.
great place you can find me is at Bookie Call, which is kind of this cool app that's like a dating app for books. And you can find my book, Locked Out of Heaven, on that.
Okay, thanks, Danielle. You have a great night. Thank you. Be safe, and we'll have you come on again another time. Danielle Orsino, reporter for the New York Giants, and also a great NFL person to talk about the NFL as well. I'm Ralph Williams. This is Sports Corner. I'm broadcasting live from Sugar Creek, Ohio, here where the Amish are, and I'm in my hotel room here, broadcasting live. And all right, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers and the Pitt as well. But my rant tonight is this: two teams played competitive overtime games. The Steelers and the Pitt Panthers. Pitt had an exciting overtime game against Tennessee, and the Steelers had an exciting overtime game against the Bengals. Both teams played their overtime games. One lost, which was Pitt, and the other one won, which was the Steelers. If Pitt would have put the effort in that the Steelers put in, I think Pitt could have won this game. But they had issues at quarterback once again. And today, I was not very pleased with Pat Narduzzi. I'm sorry, Monday, I was not very pleased with Pat Narduzzi because he comes on and he goes on and on about this, that, and whatever. And then a reporter asks him what's going on with Clinton Slovis. And you know what he does? Oh, I don't know, or he won't give an injury report. He won't tell you what's going on with Nick Patty. Okay? I mean, Pat Narduzzi, please. We know what's going to happen with this. We know now what's going on. Slovis has a concussion. Okay, Nick Patty has an ankle injury. Both of them were slated to play this Saturday against Western Michigan. So Narduzzi, what's the problem? Why are you trying to hide? What are you trying to do? It's not effective enough to to even deal with it. So I don't understand why you would even try to even do that. All right. So I mean, so here we are, another Pat Narduzzi press conference, and this is what we have. All right, we'll talk about Pitt later. That was my rant for the night here on Sports Corner. We're here every Tuesday night live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I just had Danielle Orsino on. We were talking about NFL football, the New York Giants. She reports and does work with the New York Giants. And she's a big fan as well. And it was great to have her on the program to talk about that tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch is Talking Wrestling with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. And I'm live here in Sugar Creek, Ohio. And I'll be back in my 808 studios next week in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All right, next, we're going to talk about the Steelers. As you know, they won 23-20 on Sunday in overtime. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I tell you what a guy. He blocked the punt. He ran an interception in for a touchdown. That is what we've been looking for, everybody, from the Steelers, is that their defense makes turnovers and their defense starts to play with making the turnovers and stripping the football, intercepting passes, doing sacking the quarterback and making them fumble. Do everything you can to make sure that you play the game, or and make sure that you have the thing going on with with the defense. Make sure that you have the turnovers, okay? Because turnovers create points. They should, okay? But the defense here, with the struggling offense right now for the Steelers, I feel that they need to come up with some more turnovers every game. They cannot afford to sit there and just let the offense try to do stuff but the offense was weak. Okay, the offense didn't throw downfield. They didn't do anything fancy except for a couple end arounds. I like what I saw with the jet sweeps with Chase Claypool. I thought that was really good. I didn't know where that I thought that gadget play was going to get busted up, because it seems like Cincinnati was able to smell all that out. But you know what? The Steelers came through. They won the game, and that's all that counts, is the W. But the sad part about all this is TJ Watt's hurt now. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. But that's okay, because the Steelers went out and got Malik Reed. And actually, this could be a miracle for Malik Reed. He could resurrect his career by being able to play for TJ Watt. Remember last year with Melvin Ingram, okay, and Kelly Russell, who is a friend of mine and a contributor to the Steel City Sports World show on PCTV Channel 21, Comcast 47, Verizon Cable, every Saturday at 6 p.m. Okay? Diabetes. So let's hope that Malik Reed can do the job so Steelers don't do diabetes again with him that they did with Melvin Ingram. And I think that they learned their lesson with Melvin Ingram, that they shouldn't have done that, because last year I think Melvin Ingram could have played a good part in helping the defense stop the run, which they couldn't do last year. And this year, and at least in this first game, they were able to stop the run because, correct me if I'm wrong, our good friend Devin Bush here, who everybody wants to run out of town, including myself, happened to have a really good game. I mean, he made some tackles. He was clogging up the holes. He was making the running backs shift the other direction, or making them work for their yards instead of just the easy stuff that they've been doing. So I think that this game is a learning curve game for the Steelers. But the sad part about all this is some of our key players are at. I was not satisfied with the fact that they couldn't do anything, okay, about this Cole. I mean, he was just running all over the place, and I thought that it was terrible that they couldn't do nothing about this guy with the Bengals, and he just everywhere, every time he turned around, and it seems like our defensive backs were not playing in proper position other than Minka. Okay, Cam Sutton did some stuff which I thought was good, but in the meantime, he also committed some penalties and he also got burned a few times. Okay, Akia Witherspoon as well did some good stuff, but got burned. Okay, that cost us. That cost the or made the Steelers lose out on or make the Bengals score some points. So what I'm saying to you is, I think that the Steelers really, came through. Mitch Trubisky did what he had to do based on what he was working with at the time. And I think he came through in the clutch when we needed him to. Okay. So I really don't want to hear, well, the offense was bad. The offense was a little bit tough. It was tough to look at, but the Steelers got through. The little passes, I'm not a fan of the thinking dinks. I think they need to start throwing more downfield, quit throwing side to side, throw across the middle. They didn't do that as well. Okay. Bosworth missing that kick. That didn't help matters much either, because the Steelers cannot afford to leave points on the field. Nobody can. And as sloppy as they played in this game in some cases, they were lucky to pull this out. And if you ask my opinion, okay, I think, and I've said this many times, it's better to be lucky than good, because sometimes you're not good, but you can get lucky. And the Steelers did get lucky in some ways, but they were good too. All right. Okay. Also, Najee Harris will play Sunday. His foot injury is not that severe. Also, Malik Reed will be ready to play for what, as I mentioned before. Robert Spillane, he's got an eye injury. Yeah, he's still questionable. Cam Hayward, he's good to go. He had some cramped up, ankle or whatever. And the Steelers, they added a linebacker to their practice squad and got rid of a couple guys. Well, they need the linebacker help as much as possible. They added linebacker Ryan Anderson, and they released and tight end Rodney Williams, and they released tight end Justin Big and Shaquan Roberson, wide receiver. They also cut off the team and off to there. The defense, like I said, they looked rock solid. They did what they had to do. And I said this many times, for all the players that they brought in this year and coaches, if the defense fails this year, shame on them. I mean, because I don't think I think that they really need to do something this year with all the talent and the coaching they have. Okay. So, but in special teams, they got Presley Harvin's got to punt better. There's still some cleaning up to do for the Steelers. And eventually down the road they're going to get it cleaned up, and they're going to have to, because they have New England coming in. They have injuries. They have players that need to step up. They have so many different dimensions of mistakes. The offensive line still needs to start getting together. Mason Cole was out of the game for a little while. Hassenauer came in. I saw high snaps, because I don't know what kind of work he gets in practice. Okay. And fortunately for the Steelers, we had everybody we needed. We had our long snapper, our punters, our holder, and Boswell kicking, because the Bengals, they lost their long snapper. And I think you're going to see Kyle Adonis be brought up from their practice squad, former Pitt long snapper, and first time ever in the history of NCAA that a long snapper made the All-American squad. So he's an NCAA All-American at the long snapping position, and probably will be called up from the practice squad to do the long snap. All right. All right. Speaking of Pitt, let's talk about them right now. I was at the game on Saturday. There were some things that happened that I wasn't happy with. The officiating was horrible. And, I keep saying this many times, and I'm going to say this again. Pitt keeps getting screwed by these officials. Now, I know what you're saying, Ralph. You're preaching about sour grapes. No, I'm not preaching about sour grapes. I'm preaching because this actually happened. Okay, I think that these officials don't like Pitt. I think they don't like Pat Narduzzi. Well, you know what? I don't blame them for arguing with the officials. I really don't. Okay, I'm not a Narduzzi fan. I said after they lost to Western Michigan last year that he should have been fired, because there's been too many disappointing games that he's lost, too many bowl games that he didn't win. and things like that. And I think it was time for him to move on. But, Pitt in their infinite wisdom decided to give him a contract extension and this big buyout clause, so he can't go anywhere, or he's not going to go anywhere. And now it's starting to pay off because his stability being there and his good recruiting has managed to make Pitt a really good team. They went to overtime against Tennessee, a tough team. Pitt's been fighting. They beat West Virginia, but I'm still not happy with their offensive line. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know if it's the offensive scheme because, Al Levine, the talking machine, said that from Pittsburgh Sports Line on Bethel Park TV, he said that he thinks that Pitt's offensive line couldn't handle Cignetti's offense, or the offensive coordinator, Frank Cignetti, because they're a pass-built offense that was built for the pass because of Mark Whipple. Okay? But maybe that's the case. But then again, you have seniors on there, all 5, 6-year guys. I don't understand why they should be having any kind of a problem. But their offensive line did manage to they're starting to get the run game going better under Cignetti. And I said that was going to happen. Sauls misses 2 field goals. You don't leave points on the field against a team like Tennessee. You don't leave points on the field ever, because when you do, you never know when that team's going to come back, how sad they are or how good they are. Okay, you just never ever do that. Sauls missed 2 field goals. All right, they still have a lot of work to do on the O line, and Pat Narduzzi in his games with the press with this Clinton Slovis stuff and this Nick Patty thing. And he thinks it's a joke. I mean, he was laughing and giggling. He thought it was funny. It's not funny at all, okay? Because now you're down. If those 2 guys are down, you're down to your 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks. And then the press kept pushing about those 2 guys, that Nate Yarnell and this other guy, all right? Well, it turns out that he said Yarnell's the one that's had the most snaps, so he would be the one that would have to play if both of them can or are not able to play, okay? Let's just hope Pitt doesn't have to have that problem. Let's get this offensive line together so Slovis can pass. He has more time to do what he needs to do. And so far, he hasn't been doing too bad as a quarterback, but we're only into 2 games. They play a Western Michigan team that's going to be hungry again to play Pitt, just like they were last year, and we're on their home turf now. So I think we're going to escape with the win, but I don't think it's going to be by much. Okay? Bad offensive play calling. I thought Frank Cignetti, and I've said this before, I'm a Cignetti fan, but he was calling some bad plays. I mean, it was horrible. The play call selection was bad, and I think Cignetti needs to get more, with the play calling, or else I think that Pitt's not going to have the season this year, which, according to most experts, they're not going to have a good season to begin with. Or they're going to have a good season, but they're not going to have the great season they had last year. Okay, Florida State's winning games. Clemson's starting to step up a little bit. They're back in the fold. Syracuse is beating teams. Okay. The ACC is old. Miami with Mario Cristobal. They're going to be great this year. I hate to say that, but it's true. We always lose to Miami. Duke has a new coach. Virginia Tech, Virginia, all have new coaches. So they should be winnable games for Pitt because they have these new coaches and they have to rebuild these programs. All right. So that should happen. But we're going to find out. They play Western Michigan this week and Rhode Island next week. Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's a bad team. Okay, they should beat Georgia Tech. All right. So what I'm saying to you is Pitt should be where they need to be again if they can but the bad play calling, poor officiating, which keeps going on all the time in Pitt games, for some reason. Why, I don't know. And from what I'm told from some sources, nothing can be done about it. It's okay when the officials screw up. That's like the weatherman. It's okay when the weatherman screws up on the weather and he still gets paid. These officials are the same way. Somebody needs to haul these officials to the carpet. That's what I think. Okay? All right? You police, you police everything else, but you don't police officials, referees. You don't police them. Okay? They make shoddy calls, and then Pat Narduzzi gets upset and has to argue with them, and then it just continues. It's the same thing over and over again. All right, that's all I have for Pitt tonight. AFC North, since he lost to the Steelers, as you know, Cleveland, they beat Carolina 24-22 in what they called the Baker Bowl. which was actually about Baker Mayfield. Baltimore, they beat the Jets with Joe Flacco. Flacco's playing right now because their quarterback's hurt. So, there's a blast from the past as well. The Pirates, 53 and 88. I think they're going to probably lose 100 games this year. We're going to find out where they go. Okay. They could still be 62 and 100 flat, but we'll find out. They won the first game of a doubleheader today, 6-1. They lost both games of a doubleheader with the Cardinals. Okay, which I thought was kind of silly, but that's the situation there. Ben Cherington said the Pirates will be busy in the offseason. He's planning on doing all kinds of restructuring. Well, maybe, Ben, that's what you need to do. Maybe you need to take dynamite and blow the whole team up and start all over. But I hope you don't do that. And what I'm hoping the Pirates need to stop doing is they need to stop getting rid of these veterans because there's no, and I repeat, no veteran leadership. There really isn't. Brian Reynolds is not a leader, that much of a leader. Okay? Their leadership skills are not there as far as veterans go because they keep getting rid of them all. Vogelsong, or Vogelbach, and all these other ones, Quintana. Okay? When is the Pirates can stop doing this? Because this is what's hurting them right now. I know they have this youth movement. They're going to be great in 2024. How do you know that? Okay. All right. Is Derek Sheldon the right manager? I've said this many times. I have some sources that have told me he's just like a John Russell. They're going to hold down the fort till the right manager comes up, and then they're going to fire him. Okay. They say he's a great baseball guy, has a good mind, just doesn't have the players to work with. I understand that, but when your dugout is out of control, like earlier this year when the catcher decided he wanted to run his mouth and the umpire, told him you're done. And then we were short on catchers. So, things like that, and that laughing at that guy last year. And I agree with Claudio Rosano, that shouldn't have went on, that laughing in the dugout because this pitcher or this guy that has to come in to pitch is only pitching 30-mile-an-hour balls, and things like that. So, here we are with this. And, so the Pirates are going to be the Pirates, and that's the way it's going to go. So, all right, I'm Ralph Williams of Sports Corner. I'm here in Sugar Creek, Ohio. I'm going to be here for a few days. We'll be back in Studio 808. Don't forget to tune into my YouTube channel for all my archive versions of The Way I See It and Sports Corner and Talking Wrestling. Last week I had wrestler Phil Fleck on from Code Red Wrestling. Okay, he was on to discuss the independents. I'm going to try to have more wrestlers on Talking Wrestling tomorrow night, 7 p.m. with myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. Also tomorrow at 11 a.m. I'm going to be on with Steve Bellisari from New England, and we're going to talk New England Steeler game tomorrow on his podcast at 11 a.m. right here on YouTube and Facebook. So don't forget to tune into that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Steve Bellisari and his show and podcast tomorrow at 11 a.m. And then 7 p.m. myself and Smoking Jim Talking Wrestling. 10:30 Peter Blake, Mark Mancini, myself, Turnbuckle Talk, brought to you by the Sports Web with Peter Blake down in Tampa, Florida. And we're going to talk about wrestling. Lots of talk about WWE, turmoil in the AEW, wrestlers from AEW going to WWE that I said was going to happen, and no one believed me, and here we are. It's happening right now. So it's real. It's definitely real, and here we are. And don't forget, Friday morning at 11 a.m. instead of the Thursday night, we will be on Blog Talk Radio with Mark Mancini, myself, Smoking Jim Frazier, Wrestle Talk. 45 minutes of the best wrestle talk in the nation. And that is right here, or right on Blog Talk Radio's Wrestle Talk with me, Smoking Jim Frazier, Mark Mancini, 347-205-9631, the number to listen to the show. All right, the NFL, let's talk a little bit about Dak Prescott from Dallas. As you know, he hurt his hand in the game on Sunday, and it turns out he's going to need surgery. All right, a few scores to run down. Seattle 17, Broncos 16. Nathaniel Hackett, he has egg on his face. All right, his first regular season game, and he blew it. He made some bad calls. Made his kicker try to kick a 64-yard field goal, instead of trying to do some other stuff. But that's beside the point. The Vikings, with their new coach, they win 23-7. The Chiefs 44, Cardinals 21. You know, Cliff Kingsbury down there, he never was a good college coach. And I don't know what they're thinking down there in Arizona. They haven't had a good coach since Whisenhunt and Arians. Those are the two coaches that were the best coaches for the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, but it turns out now that Arizona keeps hiring these people, and they don't do well at all. All right, and now they have this Cliff Kingsbury down there his first year. He did adequate last year. They fell apart at the end of the year and blew it in the playoffs. Now they're getting blown out by the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be wearing out his welcome real soon. People in Arizona are going to get impatient, and here we are. We're going to have that kind of a problem. Buccaneers 19, Cowboys 3, Chargers 24, Raiders 19, Bills 31-10 over the Rams. You know, Sean McVay made some bad calls, and the Bills just ran all over him. All right, the Eagles 38, the Lions 35. Lions are still fighting. Dan Campbell, I keep telling everybody Dan Campbell's going to do it. The Bears 19 and the 49ers 10. Saints 27, Falcons 26. What a game for Dennis Allen and the Saints. Ron Rivera and his team, the Washington Commanders. They beat the Jags 28-22. That wasn't a bad game, actually. You know, it was a competitive game. So there we are there. All right, Nebraska loses to Georgia Southern. And I got to tell you, this is interesting. Scott Frost was fired, you know, the head coach at Nebraska. Another upset. Florida State beat LSU, and you know, so here we are, down there in LSU with their new coach. The former Notre Dame coach is down there as well, and then you have that kind of an upset down there, and so LSU's shaking their head. They're wondering now, should we have hired, so this guy, and here it turns out that they lost by 1 point to Florida State. Mike Norvell, I think this year could be their year. They won 2 games. I mean, I know they beat an easy Duquesne team at 47-7, but they're still 2-0. And Mike Norvell, I think this year could be the year for Florida State. All right. Earlier tonight, I had a little bit of technical difficulty, some things I couldn't set up, so I had to go to a backup angle here, and that's why I'm holding the microphone in my hand. So instead of where it needs to be. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching tonight. And again, I'm here in Sugar Creek, Ohio. I will be broadcasting live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for Talkin' Wrestling right here in Sugar Creek, Ohio. I'm Ralph Williams. This has been Sports Corner. See you next Tuesday. Have a great night, and thanks for watching.